the kind words. And I would also thank the organizers, Sudan particularly. So he insisted that I should join. And it was great to see so many friends after such a long time, virtually though. So I would love to see them physically as soon as possible, but I don't know when it will be possible. Anyway, so let me start. So as it suggests that cosmology with kinematical parameters is the title of the talk. So here we shall talk about a different angle of looking at cosmology. Uh, yeah. So, so I shall begin with the beginning, have a very brief review of the standard cosmology, then go to my topic. Uh, the cosmological principle, so we build up the cosmological model based on three assumptions. One is the cosmological principle that we all know. Uh, the universe is spatially homogeneous and isotropic. So it is given by this metric, Friedman-Robertson-Walker, Friedman-Lemaitre-Robertson-Walker metric, as given in this. Here A is of course the scale factor and K is the curvature index, having values 0, plus and minus 1. So in the subsequent discussions, we shall have K is equal to 0, consistent with the inflationary models. The second assumption is that the matter in the universe, matter distribution in the universe is given by a perfect fluid, given as the energy momentum density T mu nu is equal to rho plus P V mu V nu. V mu is the velocity vector minus P G mu nu. G mu nu, of course, is the metric tensor components. And third, we know that in the universe, although gravity is the weakest of all four basic interactions, is dominated by gravity. The dynamics of the universe is dominated by gravity. And the correct theory of gravity is general theory of relativity. So it's given by Einstein's equations. G mu nu is equal to minus 8 pi G T mu nu. So these are the building blocks of the standard model. And from this, we need to solve the Einstein's equations to talk about the dynamics of the universe. So these are the Einstein's equations translated from G mu nu is equal to minus 8 pi G T mu nu to 3 a dot square by a square is equal to 8 pi G rho, and 3 a double dot by a plus a dot square by a square is equal to minus 8 by G into P. Rho and P are of course the density and pressure of the fluid distribution that we have. And here, as I already said, that we have assumed K is equal to 0. So the solution of this equation will lead to the dynamics of the universe. You can see that there are three unknowns, namely A, rho, and P. So an additional information will be required. So before going to that, a combination of this equation, this will be crucial later, that A double dot by A is equal to minus 4 pi G by 3 rho plus 3P. So A double dot is the second rate of change of the scale factor. So this leads the acceleration, and it comes with a negative definite sign because for a fluid, rho and 3P are all positive definite. So this equation is of course the Raychaudhuri equation in this case. Okay. So for the standard cosmological model, we find A. And so for the third equation, as we said, the normal practice is to give an equation of state, P as a function of rho, with the three extreme equations of state, with P is equal to 0, which is a dust distribution, incoherent matter, that is the fluid particles move with a velocity much less than the speed of light. So the kinetic energy can be neglected. So pressure can be neglected, assumed to be 0. And we have A is proportional to T to the power 2/3. So the deceleration factor, which is defined later, minus A double dot A square divided by A dot square by A square, is a dimensionless quantity which denotes the acceleration of the universe with a negative sign, because we expect that we have a deceleration in the expansion of the universe because of the simple reason gravity is attractive. And to our expectation, we find that Q is equal to half for a dust distribution. And for the other extreme case, for a radiation distribution, for P is equal to 1/3 of rho, A is T to the power half, and Q is equal to 1. So in both the cases, we see that good to our our expectation, we have the universe is actually decelerating because deceleration parameter is positive, right? So this is because of the simple reason the gravity is attractive in nature. There were problems with the standard model, of course. For instance, the problem of fine tuning or the flatness problem, why k is equal to 0, that is the density parameter omega is very, very close to unity. And the second is horizon problem. And the third is the monopole problem. So these are the problems of the early universe. We shall not discuss it because we have other things in mind. And there are remedies such as inflation and accelerated expansion in the world. Very early phase of evolution can alleviate these kind of problems that we all know. So the standard model was doing well, except perhaps explaining the structure formation in detail. And the problems were with the early phases of the evolution, which can be taken care of by other some other additions to the right-hand side of the Einstein's equation, such as a vacuum energy or something like that, which gives rise to an inflation, which can take care of these problems. So we were doing well, actually. The new turn is by the turn of the millennium, we discovered that the universe is actually accelerating at the present, meaning the distant galaxies are moving away from each other with an acceleration. And and this observation of redshift luminosity relation of supernova type 1a gave this indication to start with. And as Kavilan Murli said, so this was the first indication, but there afterwards we had other evidences of this accelerating universe also. So how supernova give this kind of a peculiar conclusion? The sources, we can measure the distance of a source, let's say supernova type 1a, and the source appeared to be dimmer than expected because we can measure the redshift, that is the distance of the supernova, and we know the luminosity redshift relation, and from the redshift we expect some kind of a supernova because the supernova physics is quite well known, but it appears to be dimmer. And the resolution, the only resolution is that the universe is accelerating. Q has a negative value. That is the explanation. So it is, to start with, we started with a disbelief because as we showed in the Raychaudhuri equation, that a double dot by A is a negative definite object, because, and this is true for Newtonian gravity, A double dot by A is equal to minus 4 pi g over 3 times rho. Rho is a positive definite object, which is the density of matter. So A double dot is negative definite, but the corresponding equation, as we showed earlier, has a 3p along with rho. So we are in with a chance, because so pressure also contributes. This is because pressure also gives rise to energy, and we know all kinds of energy gives rise to the gravity. So Einstein's field equations. So if we can, so this kind of a chance, meaning for a perfect fluid, P cannot be negative. But if we can try to invoke some kind of an exotic matter, that can perhaps give rise to an a negative pressure. So if the pressure is sufficiently negative so that rho plus 3p is negative, we shall have a positive acceleration. So this is the motivation. Sorry. So this is the way we can resolve this problem of acceleration. So Einstein's field equation with a modification, which was done by Einstein himself long back, in order to because he wanted to have a stationary universe. In order to have a stationary universe, he introduced this kind of an object called cosmological constant lambda. So the Einstein's field equations are modified like this. And the acceleration equation, the corresponding Raychaudhuri equation becomes this: a double dot by a is equal to minus 4 pi g over 3 times rho plus 3p minus 2 lambda. So if lambda is sufficiently positive, then this minus 2 lambda can overcome this effect of rho plus 3p and make a double dot a positive quantity. So that is that gives us the chance. So the basic idea is to have kind of an exotic matter which gives rise to an effective negative pressure. In this equation, you can see in the pressure equation, 2a double dot by a plus a dot square by a square is equal to minus 8 pi g.
Mike, sir.
Sorry. No, I am audible now, I think. Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir, it is audible.
Okay, thank you. So, okay. So now, if so, this lambda contributes with the opposite sign, with an opposite signs to pressure, as we can see. So, so this kind of an exotic matter can give rise to an acceleration. The cosmological constant actually works very well, but it has a problem. The problem is that the theoretically predicted value as the vacuum expectation value of some field has a terrible mismatch with the observationally required value. Another option is to choose some matter field with an effective negative pressure. The most popular example is that of a quintessence field, a scalar field phi with a potential v, which is a function of phi. And then the Einstein's field equations will look like this, where now this Raychaudhuri equation will become this minus 4 pi g over 3 rho plus 3p plus 2 phi dot square minus 2v. You can see that if we have a sufficiently positive v, this minus sign can overcome this whole thing, and we still can produce.
Sorry.
Yes.
Actually, if you are audible, but is bit low. If you bring mic closer, then it is much better. Sorry for disturbing.
Sorry. Thank you, Sushant.
Sorry.
Okay. So So is it better now? I shall try something else. Is it better now?
It is
Sushant?
better.
Okay, thank you. So an exotic matter which has an effective negative pressure and hence drives an accelerated expansion of the universe is called a dark energy. Sorry?
You're not audible.
I'm not audible.
We can't hear you, sir.
I can hear clearly on the side.
So I think I'm fine. So Sudan can hear me.
Yes, sir, it is audible.
It is audible. Sushant, there may be some problem at your end.
Okay, carry on.
Okay. So yeah. So an exotic matter which has an effective negative pressure and hence drives an accelerated expansion for the universe is called a dark energy. Mind you, this is a nomenclature. These are all a small review of the whole thing. The experts are all aware of these things, but I just start with this. The observation tell us that the universe, this is also important, that the universe actually decelerated for most of its history and is accelerating only recently for a few giga years. So the Q, the deceleration parameter, has a flip. It had a positive sign before, but very recently it has turned negative. So this is the idea. These are the observational results that tell us. The quintessence is very successful. For various choices of potential, one can indeed match the observational data, but there are problems. The problems are there is no pressing theoretical requirement of any of the potentials. So which one is the winner amongst the quintessence potentials or any other exotic matter or any other candidate of dark energy? The answer is none. None is a clear winner. So this is the state of the scenario at the present moment. So now, with this in mind, a reverse engineering has started, which is a new ball game where we do this. We take the evolution history as an ansatz, and for the normal practice is we write down Einstein's equation, write down the matter field if it is known, and then solve for the dynamics. Here what we do in this reverse engineering, we guess the evolution history of the universe from the acceleration and the past deceleration, and from this acceleration, from this evolution history, try to find out the matter field. For instance, if we know A as a function of time, we can try to find out the potential V of the scalar field. Ellis and Madsen showed this path in 1993. Give me if A as a function of t, I will give you the potential. That was the idea. This is called a reconstruction. And this is the most commonly used practice today in the dark energy physics. The reason is simple, because there is no motivation of a particular field to be used. So let us try to predict the matter field, if possible, from the evolution history itself, then try to find if we can find some such field in the existing physics from other branches. So that is the basic motivation of this kind of reconstruction. So the first, we started with the parametric reconstruction. The general practice was to try to reconstruct the physical quantities, like the equation of state parameter WdE, which connects the pressure to density of the dark energy. WdE is equal to PdE plus rho, divided by rho dE. And Z, of course, is the redshift given by A0 by A minus 1, where A0 is, of course, the present value of A, the scale factor. And we write W as a function of Z, right? And try to estimate the parameters from observational data. So this was the basic idea of the reconstruction that people started with. Other physical quantities like the total equation of state parameter, which is defined by the total pressure divided by the total density, are also employed for the reconstruction. So a more radical approach is this. So I shall basically delve in this for the rest of the talk. Pretend that we do not know Einstein's equations, but we know that the universe is homogeneous and isotropic. So I know the metric. The metric is given by this FLRW metric. We start with k is equal to 0. There are possibilities of reconstruction with k non-zero as well, but let us start with a simple thing, k is equal to 0. And we define some kinematic parameters, which do not depend on any theory, which are given by the metric itself. The Hubble parameter h is equal to a dot over a. The deceleration parameter q is equal to, which is already defined, minus 1 over h square, and times the second derivative of a, which is minus a double dot a divided by a dot square. I wrote it before. And a third order derivative as well, which is called the York parameter. J is equal to minus 1 over h cube d cube a dt cube. So these are the kinematical quantities. You can go on like this, increasing the order of derivatives, but we stop here at York. I shall tell you the reason. The reason is simple. So Hubble parameter h was measurable in cosmology for a long time, and we found that this evolves. So its evolution is given by the next higher order derivative, which is the deceleration parameter q. So q was our focus of interest, but now we can find q from observations. And to our dismay, we find that this is evolving. So its evolution is the center of attraction now. So the next higher order derivative, which gives the evolution of Q, should be a parameter of interest. And jerk is that, which is the third order derivative, one order more than that we have in Q. So now the usual practice in this parametric reconstruction is that parameterize Q, the deceleration parameter, as a function of Z, and estimate the parameters from observations. So a more radical approach is this. As I already told you, that as H was an observable for a long time, is an observable for a long time. So Q was the subject of interest for our purpose. But now as Q can be estimated and is found to evolve, the natural choice of interest should now shift to jerk, the third order derivative. Now we try to parameterize this jerk and try to reconstruct this from observations. Not much of work, sufficient work has been done, but it has started. So the jerk plays a role, already played a role as a state finder of dark energy models. It was given by Varun and his collaborators. And in fact, in one of their work by Ujjaini, Varun, Starobinsky, it was indicated that jerk can be used for a quantity for reconstruction. Anyway, so it started quite late. So we parameterize jerk in terms of Z. Why Z? Because Z is a dimensionless object, is A0 by A. And we also define H, small h. Small h is the Hubble parameter in a dimensionless way, is given by H by H0. You see that Q and J are already defined in a dimensionless way, but H is not. So we define like H like this in a dimensionless way. H, capital H, which is a function of Z over H naught. The jerk parameter can also be written in terms of Z, is this like this. So jerk, so this is just writing the definition of jerk as minus 1 over H cube times d cube A dt cube, as where t was the argument of J. If we rewrite J as a function of Z, we can write J as H and its derivatives. H is already a first order derivative of A. So in effect, we have a third order derivative in J. We have say up to second derivative of H with, okay. And this prime indicates, as opposed to dot indicates a derivative with respect to t, a prime indicates a derivative with respect to Z. Now we parameterize Z like this. Z is equal to 1 plus J1. J1 is the parameter, some function of Z, which we shall write as a parameterization, and H square. H square is the Hubble parameter in dimensionless way. Note that for a lambda CDM model, which is very, very successful in explaining the observation, but has problems with the existence of lambda. For a lambda CDM model, J is equal to -1. So this kind of parameterization was given by Zai et al. In a nice work. But what they did in all their parameterizations, they had lambda CDM model in mind, and they assumed in all their parameterizations that at Z is equal to 0, J should be equal to -1. We parameterized in a slide, we extended that work. We did it in a slightly generalized way, where we did not assume that lambda CDM should be included to start with. We do not have any such idea or superstition that lambda CDM has to be included. And we had this kind of parameterizations. So 4 kinds of parameterization. So some increases with Z, some decreases with Z, something like that. Simple parameterizations. H square hanging around all the way for in all the four parameterizations. So here we have no additional z except that in H square. Here we have a 1 plus z. Here we have 1 plus z square. Here we have an inverse dependence on 1 plus z. Okay. So the basic qualitative difference with the work of Xi, as we already mentioned, that we do not restrict J1 by demanding at the outset that J at Z is equal to 0 is equal to -1. Also, we have used more data sets than what the Xi and his co-workers did. We used baryon acoustic oscillation data, which Kavilan discussed in great detail today, and the CMB shift as well. So this so the equation for JARC that I have shown before this we can integrate that, and we can write this equation, the general expression for the Hubble parameter for this model, H square Z, by integrating that equation for J, the JARC parameter will be this: C1 plus 1 plus Z in times 1 plus Z cube plus a function of GZ plus J1. So in the four anjats, there will be four different expressions for this GZ. So in what follows, we shall be using this observational data. I shall not spend time on what observational data we used, because we shall be mostly dealing with the results and the principle that we want to work with. But basically, observational measurement of the Hubble parameter and the supernovae data, which is obviously one has to do work with, because that gave the indication of the acceleration to start with, the baryon acoustic oscillation data, and the CMB shift parameter data from some references. And I shall just quote the results, and the results are somewhat like this. For model 1, so this is a contour plot. So you can see, I shall go back to the equations once again. So in this equation, you have two model parameters, C1 and J1. There will be some J1, and the J1 C1, as you see, contains this kind of an object, 1 plus Z whole cube. You can easily identify C1 with the density parameter for the dark matter, not the dark energy, but the dark matter, the dust distribution. I mean the distribution for a pressureless matter. Okay. So I come back to the results. So these are the results where we plot, where we have contour plots for all the four models, where we can see, although we did along the vertical axis we plot J1, and along the horizontal axis we plot C1. In all the cases, we see that this success, the circles surrounding the central point is the best fit value, and the circles surrounded will give you the 1 sigma, 2 sigma, and 3 sigma confidence levels. And we can always see that J1 is equal to 0. If J1 is equal to 0, of course, we shall have J is equal to -1, which is lambda CDM. So lambda CDM is always included in the 1 sigma confidence level. So the departure from lambda CDM, if there is any, is not too statistically significant. So that is the result from the parametric reconstruction of JARC that we had. Okay. Yeah. And we had also had a plot of the effective equation of state parameter for the dark energy from this reconstructed model. We can see that this is again the central dark line is the line corresponding to is the best fit, and for the lambda CDM, the dark the WDE should be equal to -1, and here also -1 is more or less Here it is barely, but in all other, for model 3, it is barely included. In all other models, this is also quite comfortably included in 1 sigma. These plots are up to 2 sigma confidence level. So this is the equation of state parameter. So we also tried to look for an interacting set of dark matter and dark energy. So what we do is that normally we have this. This is the equation derived from the Einstein's equation. This comes from a Bianchi identity. The rho dot, the derivative of the density, is plus 3h rho plus p is equal to 0. But normally, if the matter sector they conserve individually, then we have this equation true for all the separate components, rho dot m satisfying this. For rho dot m, for a cold dark matter, there is no pressure, so Pm is 0. And this is also satisfied for dark energy. On the right hand side, we would have zeros. But we assume that they do not conserve by themselves. There is something on the right hand side. If one is positive, the other should be negative, because we have to have this net thing preserved in any way. So so we assume that to be some eta, some function of z, and try to define this interaction. This comes from the interaction. This is the transfer of rate of transfer of energy between dark matter and dark energy, and we define this interaction transfer of energy in a dimensionless form like this: 8 pi g over 3 h naught cube eta, so that we can compare that with rho and p. Yeah. So this was okay. So okay. And so here we start with this equation, the definition of Jark. We write Jark as a function of z in place of t, and the first integral will give us this with the assumption that j is very, very slowly varying. So for the purpose of integration in a small interval of z, we can assume j to be a constant. So in the previous reconstruction, where we had a term like C1 times 1 plus z whole cube, there was no such assumption, and j was free to vary. Here we have assumed j is very slowly varying. So we have this kind of an integral. You can see that if you put j is equal to -1, then you recover the h square. H square, mind you, is the Hubble parameter in the dimensionless form. You recover the lambda CDM model, some constant times 1 plus z whole cube, and this whole thing will be a constant. Okay. So we recover lambda CDM model for j is equal to -1. Now we go on to reconstruct this from the observational data sets that we already mentioned. And here we drop the CMB shift, because we tried to do without CMB shift, because CMB shift is a bit model dependent, depends on a fiducial model. So the observational Hubble distance, supernovae plus BAO, and all of them combined together. Here also, with the central dot, gives you the value of j. J is a constant here, constant parameter here, and we have up to 3 sigma. Here you can see that j is equal to -1, which corresponds to the lambda CDM model, is again included in 1 sigma quite comfortably. So this is the result. And here also we try to find out the effective equation of state parameter for the dark energy WDE. And here is the result. The central dark line gives you the best fit curve, and we plot up to 2 sigma, and we see that WD is equal to -1 is within the 1 sigma in most of the cases. We also have an idea about the interaction. We can see the interaction is very, very close to 0 at z is equal to 0, that is at the present epoch. If there is any interaction, although 0 interaction is mostly included for almost all of the observational data sets in 1 sigma, but q is equal to 0 is included in the 1 sigma, but the central best fit curve has a departure from 0 when we go along z. So if there had been any interaction, it was in the past, but not at the present moment, at the present epoch. So that is the result of the interaction. So these are the values of the interaction that we plotted at z is equal to 0 that we found out for different kinds of data sets. You see that is very, very small. And yeah, and 0 is always included in 1 sigma. The error bars are the 1 sigma thing. Okay, so that is the finding for the parametric kind of thing. So Sushant, I have some 5-10 minutes. Sushant, I have some 5-10 minutes more, right?
And you have about 8 minutes, 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay, good. Thank you. That will be good enough. So, but whenever you do any cosmological model, we need to check the perturbations, whether that gives rise to the correct structure formation or not. That is the delta rho, whether delta rho by rho that has a growing mode. We made an attempt to work on that, and the reconstructed models actually explain the structure formation. We can have favorable structure formation, but we also found that the interacting models, where we have assumed J is nearly a constant, does worse than, or rather I should say, the non-interacting models, they do better than the interacting model. So this is mostly the thing. Now, as we have mentioned, we parameterize J. Now, the recent trend is to try to figure out or try to parameterize the observational quantities without assuming any parameterization ansatz. So we are recently trying on that. There are some preliminary results, some of which is published already. So I shall also give a flare of that in the remaining 5-6 minutes. So the reduced Hubble parameter H, as we defined before, is H z by H0. The co-moving distance is this, which is also there in the textbook, but I have mentioned it. For k is equal to 0, for k non-zero, there are other terms in terms of omega k0. Yeah. And the Jark parameter is this. As a function of z, we have already written that, so it turns out to be this. Please note a difference. So in the previous cases, all the cases for a parametric reconstruction, we assumed J is equal to, J is equal to, we defined J with a negative sign to start with, minus A triple dot A divided by H cube. Here we start with the positive sign, because in the earlier case, our intention was to reconcile our work or compare our work directly with that work of Xi, which was the first reconstruction of Jark. But now we found that there is not really any reason to give a negative sign, because in front of in defining Jark, because in Q we call it deceleration parameter, so we put a negative sign. So this is the Jark as a function of H, or rather in terms of H and its derivatives with respect to the redshift parameter Z. In terms of the normalized co-moving distance, D, capital D, which is DC as we defined before, scaled by H0 over C, this Jark will look like this. Now in the method that we apply is the Gaussian process, which is a publicly available code. With some modifications we use it naturally. And we assume and a flat FLRW metric, and no parameterization ansatz. So it is completely model independent. I mean, we do not model the JARC in any way. So this is more unbiased. This is a more recent work, and we use, so the previous work that we talked about was done in 2017. So this is this year. So we used more recent data sets, cosmic chronometer data for the Hubble parameter, Pantheon compilation of the supernovae, baryon acoustic oscillation. We used some very recent data, and also for the CMB shift parameter. We shall come back to the last two at the end. So we reconstruct everything using the Gaussian process. The building blocks for the Gaussian process is that assume the distribution to be Gaussian to start with for all random variables, and such that their joint distribution is also Gaussian. And Gaussian prior characterized by a mean function mu and a covariance function. The covariance function can have different choices. So we have chosen what is known as the Mattern 9/2. The reason for this is not really clear, but anyway, for this choice of this covariance function, but we tried with all the covariance functions that are available in the market. They give more or less the same result. Mostly this Mattern 9/2 and the square exponential covariance functions give you the least error bars. So we used one of them. We used actually both of them. I quote the results from this K9/2. And this mu-z is normally chosen a 0 or a constant. What we do is that we do not choose it at the beginning. What we do a bit better. We marginalize our variables, our observables, and find out mu from them. Using all this, these are the reconstructed pictures. Yeah. So J, Z as a function of Z looks like this. J is equal to 1, which is the dotted line here, corresponds to lambda CDM. And the thick dark line is the reconstructed thing. You can see that again, lambda CDM is included mostly in 1 sigma, But for the use of different data sets, there is a clear distinction in the behavior of JZ in the best fit curve.
2 minutes
So,
to please continue.
Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes is fine. So okay. So this there is a difference in the nature of the best fit curve. Although lambda CDM is included in 1 sigma in almost all the cases, you see, if you use only the CC, this has a deep downwards, and if you use only supernovae, it goes up. If you use a combination of them, there is a in fact these effects are reduced. But J is not monotonous. J is not a monotonic function that we find. So these are for different combinations of the data sets. So I just flash the results. I mean, not much. I mean, you can see that in almost all the cases, lambda CDM is included in 1 sigma. So I skipped about 2 data that we used. One is the Planck data for H0 and the Rice data for H0. We all know that there is now a huge controversy in these two kinds of measurement of H0. One is the global and one is the local measurement. And we also, in place of using our reconstructed value of H0, we also used as priors, only as priors, the values of the global and local measurements of Planck data, and we see this is the comparison. Look at the third picture. So this is.
I'm sorry, time is really up.
Okay. So I shall very quickly go to my concluding slide. Yeah, so these are kind of the, we tried to find out a best fit curve for this and evaluate these parameters from the data sets. Sorry, for the best, not for the data sets, but for the best fit curves. And here you can see that this best fit and this analytical curve, they are very, they have a very good agreement for low Z up to 0.8 or something like that, but they do not agree for the higher redshift. So thank you. This is the concluding slide. So the basic idea is that both the time varying and constant Jark parameter models are in close proximity with lambda CDM model. A constant Jark parameter model allows the possibility of interaction, but the interaction is small. The nature of the interaction term obtained from the model shows that the possibility of interaction is extremely tiny at the present era, and also a non-parametric reconstruction is possible. A departure from lambda CDM is usually not too significant. Thank you very much. Thank you.